Welcome to Friatno English. Learn English through story and science. B. Superfamily Apoidea. Any of more than 20,000 species of insects in the suborder Apocrita, order Hymenoptera, including the familiar honeybee, apis, and bumblebee, bombus and cytherus, as well as thousands more wasp-like and fly-like bees. Adults range in size from about 2 millimeters to 4 centimeters, about 0.081.6 inches. Bees are closely related to certain types of wasps, the principal biological difference between them being that bees, except for parasitic bees, provide their young with pollen and sometimes honey, whereas wasps feed their young animal food or provision their nests with insects or spiders. Associated with this difference in food preference are certain structural differences, the most essential being that wasps are covered with unbranched hairs, whereas bees have at least a few branched or feathered hairs to which pollen often clings. Bees are entirely dependent on flowers for food, which consists of pollen and nectar, the latter sometimes modified and stored as honey. There is no doubt that bees and the flowers that they pollinate evolved simultaneously. As bees go from flower to flower gathering pollen, a small amount is rubbed from their bodies and deposited on the flowers they visit. This loss of pollen is significant, for it often results in cross-pollination of plants. The practical value of bees as pollinators is enormously greater than the value of their honey and wax production. Male bees are usually short-lived and never collect pollen, nor do they have other responsibilities in connection with providing for the young. Female bees do all the work of nest-making and provisioning, and usually have special anatomical structures that assist them in carrying pollen. Most bees are polylectic, meaning that they gather pollen from a wide variety of flowers. However, some bees collect pollen only from flowers of certain families, others from flowers of certain colours. Oligolectic bees gather pollen from only a few related kinds of flowers. The mouth parts of bees, like the pollen-collecting and pollen-carrying devices, seem to be adapted to different flowers. Most bees are solitary or non-social in habit and do not live in colonies. In these species, each female makes her own nest, usually a burrow in the ground, and provisions it. Among such bees, there are no castes. Some solitary bees make chimneys or turrets at the nest entrance, others nest in wood or in the pith of twigs or canes. Most solitary bees are short-lived as adults. Some species may be in flight only a few weeks of the year, having spent the rest of the year in their cells as eggs, larvae, pupae, and young adults. Solitary bees provide all of the food the larvae require to complete development when the cells are sealed. Social bees, such as the bumblebee and the honeybee, feed their young progressively. The Apoidea includes 7 families: Colletidae, which are primitive wasp-like bees consisting of 5 or 6 subfamilies, about 45 genera, and some 3,000 species; Andrenidae, which are medium and large-sized solitary mining bees, including some parasitic species; Halictidae, mining or burrowing bees, the best known of which is Dialictus zephyrus, one of many so-called sweat bees, which are attracted to perspiration; Melitidae, bees that mark a transitional form between the lower and the higher bees; Megachilidae, leaf-cutting and mason bees, noted for their elaborate nest structures; Stenotritidae, a small family of Australian bees; and Apidae, bumblebees, honeybees, carpenter bees, cuckoo bees, and digger, or mining bees. The so-called killer bee is a hybrid between an African subspecies and a subspecies of European honeybee. The Africanized honeybee resulted from the accidental release of African honeybees in Brazil in 1957 and their subsequent crossbreeding with local European honeybees. Although it is not more venomous than the European form, it reacts much more quickly to perceived threats to the colony, attacks in number, pursues for a longer time and greater distance, and takes longer to calm down. They have been considered responsible for hundreds of deaths.